Okay, it's live.
Okay,
No,
I'm ready.
I pressed the button too early. Chris is not ready. I'm getting apologies, Chris.
Oh, no problem, guys.
Apparently looking few more.
Don't know what
There
that
we
was.
go.
Oh yeah, we're live. It's the SCMP MMA post-fight podcast. Nick and Chris here for another edition. As always, it should be plenty of fun. Lots of stuff to talk about. Well, not really, actually. I messaged Chris before we went live. I was like, what the hell are we going to talk about today? There is really not too much going on that we didn't cover already on Tuesday in the show I did with John. So we thought we'd have a little one championship state of play type thing where we look ahead to what they've got planned the rest of this year. And in particular, when the hell is this atomweight Grand Prix going to actually happen? Because it's nearly been a year since they announced it soon. Anyway, Chris, how rude of me not to ask, how are you doing?
I'm absolutely great, man. Absolutely fantastic. A little bit hyped actually for the fights this weekend in the UFC. Few good fights going on. Nice to see one championship. I think it was Saturday they announced the new cards. Fantastic to see them getting the show going again. Touch wood it can go through because anyone who's following the news can see what's going on in Singapore and rates do keep going up. And they announced 10th anniversary specials as well for September, I believe. So yeah, it's absolutely perfect. It's as always, man. It's a great time to be a fan of mixed martial arts and combat sports in general. And how are you doing, Mr. Nicholas Atkin?
Oh, Chris's Wi-Fi is dying. Can you hear us?
I can hear you perfectly, sir.
Okay. I think you're back now. You kind of went away a little bit. Anyway, seems okay. How are you the one with Wi-Fi problems? I'm the one off. I'm doing my personal hotspot on my phone. This is what I use for Wi-Fi. You have a fancy building with fiber optic broadband. Yeah. Anyway, okay, yeah. WMMA scene now is here. Hello, sir. How you doing? And Zachary, good to see Zachary. It has started now. Sorry, we're a little bit late. Bit of a mess this morning. I've got a handyman coming over soon, so I'm gonna have to go away for 5 minutes, and Chris is gonna take charge of things. But why don't we get into it then, man? So I'll start with what I have heard, and that is that the Grand Prix, yes, is in the works. It is back on. It is the next in line after Battleground. So that leads me to believe, Chris, Mr. Edwards Bailey, that one championship's vaunted 10-year anniversary show is going to be this Grand Prix.
Oh, 100%. I think we're going to see the Grand Prix there. I think we're going to see the Panda fight. I think there's going to be a few big fights. I won't be surprised if on either of the 10-year anniversary shows, if we do see Christian Lee, Demetrius Johnson, I think they'll try and get a few of their big names on. We might finally see Bibiano versus John Lineker, hopefully.
Yes, so it looks like they've ditched this Empower thing, which was going to be the all-female card, which was your idea, Chris, essentially. So are you sad to see your brainchild just not come to fruition, let's say?
Yeah, it is a bit sad to not see it, but I think in the grand scheme of things, I just want to see some fights now. I want to see one championship. I want to see them active. I want to see their fighters fight. And even just for the fighters' sake, there's a lot of very good fighters out there who haven't really fought much during the pandemic. They haven't been able to, I guess, earn their income. Even like big names. I can't remember the last time we saw Sexy Hammer, right? It's been... did he even make it onto the Matrix cards last year?
I have no idea, man.
Yeah.
He was going to fight Falayang, was it? Or Shinya? I can't remember.
Yeah. So, especially some of these older guys, like Sexy Hammer, they don't have that much time on their hands. So, yeah, his last fight was in February 2020. So, just show you need to get a few of these big names out, and we just need to get the ball rolling.
I'm with you 100%. I think it would have been nice to have that all-female card. One in Power would have been something special, and they could have trumpeted that up as look at this amazing show we've got. But like you say, we've got to get the ball rolling. We just have to get some fights going. I don't think they have a choice now. They've got to get this Grand Prix they've got to start some of these first round matches. Even if they can't get all 4 of them on in one night, they need to have 1, 2, or 3 of them on the next card, which, as WMMA Scene points out, is in September. I'm going to bring it on screen now. So we've got, of course, Battleground next, Chris, on July 30th. We talked about that on the show on Tuesday. We might touch on it a little bit later again, but then they're pre-taping 2 more cards, so there'll be at least another 10 fights they're going to record before or after Battleground. I imagine before, because it's Singapore time, 8:30 p.m. So
I would also say they might not even end up being 3 Battleground cards, because you look back at some of the TNT cards, they got reduced to 4 fights. So I guess probably gonna film probably about 15 fights, and you never know if we see 2 or 3 drop out. We might just be left with a Battleground 1 and 2, you know.
Yeah, there's always COVID going to play havoc with these one championship shows, because they haven't flown anyone in yet. I just interviewed Victoria Lee, who is, of course, fighting on One Battleground 1, the live show against Wang Luping. And she's flying out tomorrow from Hawaii. So it looks like everyone's going to be on the move soon. Well, but as we've seen, there are a lot of COVID positives, people testing positive on the plane who aren't even the fighters. And then if you're on the same plane as someone who's sitting in front of you, like Martin Nguyen, you get pulled from the fight. So yeah, it's a lot of, it's, we can say the cards are coming, but until everyone makes it safe and sound to Singapore, let's keep our fingers crossed, Chris.
I don't know too much about the way to get into Singapore and how easy it is, but I would assume, though, for people like Victoria Lee or even other fighters who are employed at Evolve or have links to Evolve, they might, obviously Victoria Lee, because she is Singaporean by blood, she maybe can get in much easier as a resident. It might be harder for other fighters, but touch wood, it can all go ahead, because it's 8 days now until the fight, so let's hope it can go ahead, and let's hope because I assume they're creating a bubble again, right? Similar to TNT.
Absolutely, there's a bubble in place. Singapore government has very, 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 very strict restrictions in place and protocols. So I'm pretty sure at least one fight is going to fall through. So you might be right, Chris. They might be moving some things around. I'm sure they've still actually got some fights taped from February or something. I'm not sure we saw them all at Full Blast 1 and 2. That name cracks me up. But yeah, hopefully they can get at least these 3 cards out. There'll be 2-week wait for the second edition. So we'll see. Hopefully nothing falls through, especially none of the big fights. You want to keep that co-main on there. I think Ong and Leandro,
100%.
Because great to have Sammy and Prajan Chai that main event. But for mixed martial arts fans, I think you really want to keep Ong there and Victoria's fight. So praying to the MMA gods, Chris, that no one tests positive or comes in close contact with anyone who tests positive, and we should have a good show. But I brought up this because look, 10-year anniversary. This is this big card here, 3rd of September. That'll be a live card, and yes, I'm hearing whispers. I hear the whispers, Chris. Whispers in the wind. That's
not all you hear, but
yeah. So yeah, I'm hearing the Grand Prix is kind of next on the marketing machine. They're rolling that up again now. So all signs point to this being on this anniversary card, and good decision, as we say. And maybe they just want to have that whole main card will be all female fights, because let's think they're going to have 5 fights on that live card, and then they'll be taping a bunch of other for the 10-year anniversary too, unless that is also a live one. It might be because of the special 10-year anniversary element. What do you think? Maybe they might push for that to also be live, Chris?
Oh yeah, I think so, 100%. It's really, really hard to judge because it all depends on the COVID situation. They might do. See, when I saw the 2 cards initially, I thought they might be doing one that would be like Friday 8:30 Singapore time. Then I thought they might be doing a daytime show or an early morning show for part 2, because I thought they might do similar to what they did with Century, where they had the 2 back-to-back cards. They might be doing one, maybe more for the American audience, but seemingly it doesn't seem so. But it's all possible to change.
Someone's telling me to call up Chatri. Who is it? A WMMA scene now. I don't actually have his number, so I can't call him. I would. I'd text him like, Chatri, what's going on with the Grand Prix? When are we going to get that?
100%.
And I could also ask him if they're doing an IPO, Tan. From what I've heard, yes, they're looking to get one. Chris, you're pretty good at the financial stuff, much better than me, literally in real life and analyzing it.
They also talked about it. There was actually an article a few days ago in the Financial Times out of the UK talking about how One Championship are planning to increase their appeal, and they are looking at an IPO and how they're trying to grow the business as much and really trying to get a foothold in the West with their new appointed. I want to say, is it a CEO? But I don't think it is a CEO. Is it just a new board?
Oh yeah,
directors.
Let's look at that because I was looking at things we could actually talk about in terms of One Championship. There really is fuck all going on in their world, but that was something. They brought in this new guy from Turner, right? Former David Levy. Yeah,
David Levy. Yeah.
Okay, let's bring that up on screen for lack of anything else to talk about in terms of One Championship. David Levy. So this was interesting. I did actually want to talk about this before that. So what does this point to in terms of them getting a deal with one TNT, right, which is owned by Turner? So that must be some kind of positive element for their push to be on TNT regularly.
Oh yeah, 100%. I think they're trying to get some link up there. I know David Levy mostly at Turner Network. He really worked about building the baseball and the basketball brand. Not from America. I don't know too much about baseball or the TV deal over there, but I know like the TNT shows and the big basketball shows are hugely watched, and I think they have Shaq over there reporting for the basketball on TNT. So I know it is hugely popular, and obviously they have really grown their brand around basketball in America. I guess baseball is a slightly different prospect because there's so many games and it's very regional, but it gives you a great base for attracting their fans. But yeah, this is absolutely perfect, man. I think this is a really good move. America is the media capital of the world. It is good to have someone on the board of directors from that part of the world because it has generally been very Asia-centric, and rightly so because this is an Asian organization. But I do think having a few more people with a bit more knowledge of sports in America, but also just how the networks in America work. You've got someone really who's been an insider in one part of the business moving to become an outsider in another part of the business with One Championship, and that should hopefully give them better synergies moving forward.
So many words there you said I don't understand. This financial world is not mine. Tan Nguyen says it's interesting that they are focusing on the Western market now where there's a lot of competition instead of Asia. Yeah. I mean, is one really actually interested in Asia, Chris? I think the long-term goal has always been America or the Western market, right? That's where the money is for them. Ideally, getting this contract with TNT.
I feel like the whole idea is kind of to be East meets West. You want America, you want those big gates, you want that great primetime television slots. The advertising money in America is absolutely ridiculous. I think when you do look at something like the Olympics or even the FIFA World Cup, I think America brings in about 40% of the FIFA World Cup in terms of television revenues and about something similar for the Olympics. So you do forget it is the biggest market in the world for a reason. Yeah, and I think they're trying to go for like some sort of East meets West model where they're going to do events on both sides and have the best fights from both sides of the world. I think China and Japan are also key markets. And if you do really look at One Championship and you do say who are the biggest markets, really, probably it's Singapore and the Philippines, you'd say. I guess Burma, they're pretty big because of Hong Kong, but they're probably the markets they dominate, right?
I think so, but is there much there to dominate for them? Can they get financially enough out of that for them to reach where they want to reach in terms of the level? I don't know.
Yeah, I think the problem is in Japan, I think they started to build a presence, and then we've obviously had COVID, which has caused a problem because Japan is obviously pretty well financed and third biggest economy in the world. has a huge love of MMA. You look at Rise and it does these big, fantastic shows. We've also got great organizations just below that in Shuto and Pancrase and whatnot, which are absolutely fantastic and produce really great quality talent, right? But they haven't really been able to crack that. Their inroads into China have generally been poor. They haven't really done much. So I think America is really key. But where they have done well, they have really, really tapped into the local market, you know. You've been to a few shows in Malaysia. I've never made it to Malaysia. Like, how well received are they in Malaysia? Are they selling them out very easily, or?
Malaysia shows are always packed, but they do give away a lot of tickets, I think.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just being honest.
Because I know...
yeah, but it's always full, and it's a good atmosphere.
I know from the Muay Thai perspective, I speak to my Thai friends, and they still say, like, one championship doesn't really come close to the popularity of the big stadiums over there in Thailand. But then conversely, speak to my Filipino friends, and all the Lakai guys are pretty much household names, right? They're pretty hugely popular and fairly well known within the country. So
yeah, I was having a beer or whatever the other day at Pete's place, our local watering hole. And yeah, one of the Filipino guys there also was talking to me about Edward Flying and Team Lakai. So they do have some reach, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, America is key. I mean, look, you've got DJ. He's not getting any younger. Eddie Alvarez. Sage has been massively inactive. And then you've got the Leas, man. These pretty handsome, charming, well-spoken, kind of very apple pie as well, very Christian. I think they've got the potential to be huge, huge stars in America and in Asia.
Yeah, Tan Nguyen is saying the three biggest Asian economies, China, South Korea, and Japan. I think UFC has more market share and popularity in those countries than one.
Yeah.
I agree, but I don't think UFC has too much of a foothold in South Korea or Japan. I think China, they've really put down a marker, obviously, with the Institute, the Performance Institute, and the things they're doing, you know, with China Mobile, Migu, the subsidiary there, the broadcast deal. I think it'd be tough for anyone else to get too much of a foothold there at the moment. But I think one could push into Japan, but they started to make inroads there, but it's going to be difficult for them to overtake, I think, some of the other promotions that are already there, unless, like we have talked about, Chris, they maybe try and buy out some of them, or, you know, maybe buy out Rising if they can. Is that ever going to be feasible for them?
You would have thought if there's a time to do it, would probably be the pandemic. You know, it's been hard to be a promoter. It'd probably be the time people were looking to cash out, and you'd probably be able to get other promotions for much cheaper than you would have pre-pandemic. So I don't think we're ever going to see it again. I don't think we're going to see something like the UFC buying Pride, buying Strikeforce, buying the WEC. I don't really.
I think my handyman is here. Hang on, I'm going to open the door. So Chris is solo.
No problem. And does anyone out there in the comments have any questions while I take this solo? And just really to continue, World Championship, trying to make inroads in Japan. Don't think they've done a career show yet. They were planning on one with Sexyama. And then they have had some shows in China. Some have been a success, some not so. But I do know the esports division in particular is doing really, really well in China. I think they were making quite a lot of events in Chengdu in Sichuan province. They were pretty popular. But yeah, man, just really looking forward to these events. I think Battleground 1 is going to be really good fun. The one I'm looking forward to the most, and Niggs might agree with me in the comments, but I'm really looking forward to the return of Edward Foliang. I think it's a fantastic fight for him. I think it's a really good matchup against Li Pengjiang. Li Pengjiang is 13-11, pretty solid performer. He's been in, I want to say he was in Kunlun. I don't think he ever fought in WLF, but had some absolute wars in Kunlun. Coming over to one championship was quite big news, if I remember, when he did sign. And it's nice to see him finally getting a fight. And then really apart from that, at the moment, there's not so much going on. with what one championship is going on. And WMA scene now has just told me that in 2020 was the first year that one didn't schedule a show in Korea. They always scheduled it before and then quietly removed it. Oh, so every year I understand now. So every year they were scheduling a show and then cancelling it. And then 2020, it looked like they maybe would have given up, which seems absolute madness. And Nick
Coming
is
back in just briefly. He's fixing my door at the moment, but
yeah, WMAC now was pointing out that one pretty much every year had a show scheduled for Korea, but they cancelled it every year. Because I remember when Sexyama won his last fight, it might have been against the Egyptian top team kind of guy. But I think didn't he say he wants to be on the first show in Korea? He wants to talk about that in the cage. So, would be nice to see. But these are the markets you really want to get into. It's just not really happening right now.
Not at the moment. Yeah, Migs say it's always great to watch Edouard, but never really optimistic about his record.
Oh yeah, we touched on Battleground too, because I was trying to say, as I said to you earlier, these matches for Ongla and Leandro's fight, and then also the Ed Follion fight. I'm saying it no problem. I'm saying it pretty much on every podcast, guys. These guys very much at crossroads, and what we do find what one championship are very good at, very similar to Bellator, is they're very good at building up fighters slowly. But I think when they've got someone who's a name as well, they're very good at treating them well towards the end of their career and not giving them favourable matchups, but giving them matchups where they have a chance to win. John KL is in the comments. Show some respects to Mr. Folliang. 100%, man, and one of the best fighters to ever, one of the best fighters ever from the Philippines, one of the best fighters to ever compete in the welterweight division in one championship. He is a former champion, but I am just saying, coming off his recent losses, even you go back in the last 2 years, he lost to Shinya Aoki, then Eddie Alvarez, Peter Boyce, Tony Caruso, and then Shinya Aoki again. I don't want to see him fight Shinya Aoki again. I think that's all done and settled now. So I think he's probably finding his level once again. And one box Drew Grug, sadly. That is partially true. Grug also, though, he is a wrestler. He was fighting a kickboxer. He never really put himself about enough. And I didn't think he used his wrestling in that fight at all, actually. He got gassed very quickly. And I think we saw the Grug maybe is not quite the athlete we thought he was as of yet. Maybe just absolutely needs to work on cardio. But he's a little bit more of a body and a character and a personality in a way than he is truly a mixed martial artist. But you never know. He's got time over. Guys, I think he's still only 26, 27. So, yeah, he's got time to try and come back and really push forward. WMMA scene now saying one finally booked Lin He Chin again after 2 years. Curious to find out where she's been. Yeah, that's a really odd one. It's really strange because I think the Ritu fight is going to be fantastic. I love Ritu. I think props to one championship. They've really actually thrown her back in the fire. I thought after the B loss, I thought they would be taking her down a level to build her up a little bit more, build her striking up a little bit more. But to go straight in against Lin is going to be an absolutely fantastic fight. And I mean, she's not in last chance saloon because she's so young and so early into her MMA days. But I mean, if Ritu can't do it in this fight, I would say it probably pushes her back. She's nowhere near that Grand Prix. She's not going to be an alternate. Probably pushed her back 2 years maybe to fighting for a title. And yeah, that's true, Tan. UFC doesn't know how to matchmake its legends. No, it does not matchmake legends well. It prefers to use a legend's name to build someone younger. So you see a lot of the old guys, they tend to get thrown to the dogs a lot. I mean, you look at people like legends of the game, like Nog and Shogun and all these guys, they were pretty much just used over and over again to build people up. And they kind of did it a little bit with Alistair Overeem. He was top guy, but he never got any favorable matchups, and he was just getting thrown to the next young hungry lion time after time again. So it is absolutely tough times. Any more questions? Any more questions around Battleground, guys? And also, the best thing I think about I think no, not the best thing about this Battleground show. I think what's really is going to connect with the fans, and I think what will be on the most of the internet news, on most of the forums, I think is going to be the Victoria Lee fight. She's just a bit of a star in the making. Once again, fighting again. I think there's going to be a second fight before she turns 18, which is absolutely ridiculous. We had John KL the other day in the comments saying he doesn't expect with her height she might one day be fighting at bantamweight. I don't really see her going up to that, but I didn't actually realize she was so tall for her age. I think she's 167, which is pretty tall. I can definitely, well, I think she'll be in strawweight in 4 or 5 years, quite possibly, and then we might see her go up another weight class towards the end of her career, towards her late 20s, because people do forget as well. You look at Angela Lee and Christian Lee. I don't think Christian Lee is ever going back down to featherweight again, and I think he'll probably finish his career off at welterweight if he keeps going the way he is and the way his body's developing and changing. And then I think Angela Lee. I think as well, once this Grand Prix is over, I think we're just going to see which strawweight, man. I don't know how much she's going to be wanting to make this cut. I don't know how much longer she's going to be able to do it. You know, she's always struggled to get down to her fighting weight. So it is really, really hard to say. WMA saying he's seen a lot of anticipation for Victoria's fight. Totally agree. All the Lees, absolute stars in the making. Great talkers, got a great background, favourites of promotion, and rightly so, because they have absolutely delivered. And can't wait to see Adrian, I guess, in the cage if he decides to follow in his sisters and brothers' footsteps. And for Miggs, Victoria Lee's opponents, Luping Wang, she's 3-2, mostly fought on the China regional scene. I think her last 2 or 3 fights are in WLF, which is, in my opinion, the second best organization in China. I probably put Kunlun ahead of it, but they haven't really been going on too much during the pandemic. She hasn't really fought anyone with a truly exemplary record. The one person she has fought is Miao Ding, who is something of an Alan and Lai kind of character. The Caracal cat, the scary cat. I'm not quite sure how you always translate a name, but she wears coloured contact lenses. She does her makeup in a very pronounced way. She's kind of very attractive woman. She kind of has like that, Insta famous celebrity behind her. But every time she has fought in the higher levels in Kunlun, in Heroin, and in WLF, I believe she's lost every fight. But then she's mopped up a lot of good wins on the regional scene. She has fairly decent takedown defense. She's got a lot of wins against Mongolians and I want to say Central Asians. I think some Russians in there as well. So it's really, really tough to say. Mix is asking, does he think it will be a gimme? I don't think it's going to be a gimme. I think it's going to be a much tougher fight. I think this girl, I think the one thing is that she's probably going to be able to use her reach a lot more. Let me just check the card, guys, because this fight is taking place. Is it taking place at atomweight? Because the other girl usually fights at strawweight, but the other girl, I think, is 151, 152. So, and according to the One Championship website, I've got Victoria Lee as 167, so she's going to have a big reach and a height advantage. So, if she can use it, but it's really hard sometimes to tell with these Chinese fighters where they haven't had so many fights that we've seen, because a lot of them, they come from a really big Sanda background or a kickboxing background, and they can have a lot of fights that just aren't reported on or not really have a record, but some of these people can have 30, 40, 60 fights already. And a question from Tan, do you think the Delta variant will threaten any of these cards? We're going to see fights fall off these cards 100%. I just hope it's as few as possible. But I'd be very surprised if we got through all 3 cards without any fights falling off. We might just see them film the fights and announce the actual fights on the cards much closer to the event. I think at the moment, Battleground 2 and Battleground 3 only have 2 slated fights, but they're not even fully confirmed yet. But it is tough to say. I know that they are going through some social distancing at the moment in Singapore, but hopefully they can pull through with the Delta variant. And we've got another question from Tam. What happened to Cosmo Alexandre? Yeah. I want to say it was about 26 months ago. It must have been May 2019, was it? Or was it just in June? Him fighting Sage Northcutt, where we shattered one side of his face. Shattered one side of his face. I have no other ways to put it, guys. He did have a little bit of a issue with the promotion. He didn't think the Brazilian fighters got enough coverage. We had some issues with them, but I think they managed to iron it all out and they gave him a new contract for MMA and kickboxing. I'd like to see him fight, but he hasn't been fighting. He hasn't been as active on social media. So I don't really know what's going on, but I'd love to see him back, whether it's in Bellator, in MMA or in the Super Series. I'd love to see him fight Nicky Holston again. I wouldn't want to see him fight John Wayne Parr again. But yeah, I mean, I want to say, is Cosmo, has he got 1 loss on his record, or is he still undefeated in MMA? I think he might have 1 loss on his record from back in his Bellator days, but I might be totally wrong. But yeah, we do forget that One Championship has all these fantastic athletes that we just haven't been seeing fighting. I mean, when was the last time Bibiano fought? Was that 2 years ago? I think that was similar. And John Kaler saying, any Ramon. I don't understand what that means. Enlighten me, John Kaler. Yeah, and that's it. I guess looking forward with One Championship, probably Battleground 2, Battleground 3 will probably have no title fights. We're probably going to have super stacked cards for the 10-year anniversary specials. Maybe 2 or 3 title fights on each. I agree with you there. 86 Jonathan Haggerty is really, really fun to watch. He's a fantastic fighter. I want to see him get back into the octagon. I want to see Liam Harrison back into not the octagon. I mean, the One Championship circle. I want to see Liam Harrison back in the Super Series as well. They've got some absolutely fantastic fighters. As of yet, I do not, John, have any news on Ramona Pascual, but I think she's still trying to sort everything out. Isn't she still trying to get a fight? Is she looking, Ramona? Is she looking at
for a fight?
No,
I have no idea actually.
Yeah, I think she is looking at something like that. I think she talked with someone recently, and I think she was saying it. With everything that she's going through, it doesn't look like she's probably going to fight for Icon again. I think she's going to be fighting for a different organization.
I had to. I'm getting my sink moved on the roof, and the aircon unit moved, and the fence built. There's plenty of stuff to do, Chris. You haven't seen my new apartment, but a lot of construction still to do. Anyway, did you hold it down?
Yeah, we held it down. We just talked about Battleground. We had a little chat about the Battleground 2. We had a little talk about Folly Yang, Victoria Lee, Ritu going straight back in again with an absolute killer opponent. We had a little look into Victoria Lee's opponent, so it looks pretty good. But I think the Onla Leandro fight on Battleground 1, I think that's the fight to watch.
I have some. I wish I could tell you now. I've got an interview tomorrow, which is going to be interesting as well, which I think everyone will enjoy, and it kind of has some significance, or at least so. Yes, hopefully I can share that with you guys soon. Yeah. I think you'll all be interested to hear who that person is and what they are doing.
I'll say something very quickly, guys. Tomorrow. The 10th anniversary special, if I have to guess, I think we're going to see Tanley versus Gary Tone on it, and I think we're going to see Christian Lee headline.
Yeah, we were going to fantasy book, weren't we? Some of these cards. So let's take out the Grand Prix then. Let's presume the Grand Prix and then the Panda against Michelle Nicolini is this card. Let's just say that's what's going to happen. Then if we've got another live card here, 10-year anniversary 2, what do we have on there? You thinking Tanley, Gary Tonin, Christian Lee against Okra Yoon?
Yep.
And
I think we may possibly.
I think it may be too soon for that, because I think Christian wanted December, because he's
December.
He's enjoying being dad. His baby was just born in May. I think he will take most of this year off and then get one in at the end of the year. So it might be too soon.
If I was one, I'd get a big bucket of cash and get him on for the 10th anniversary show. I mean, I feel like one of the 10th year anniversary shows has to have a Leon, because they've been so important to the show's history. And I also won't be surprised if we see Bibiano versus John Lineker possibly on one of the cards. And hopefully we can get Regan Ursula fight.
Bibiano. What's going on, man? Has he settled his differences with them, or what? Still posting. He's pretty active on social media. He's saying things, but there doesn't seem to be any movement on when there's going to be a fight.
No, but there is a few guys out there that we just need to get fighting, like Bibiano, John Lineker, Regan Ursula, Elias Anachi, Capitan. Got so many good fights. When was the last time Joshua Pascio fought?
I think I was there. It was Manila, November 2019, or maybe he fought in the January one. Sorry, 2 months later. I wasn't there. He defended his title. I wish I'd gone to that show.
Yeah.
John KL says, for the SCMP MMA anniversary stream, we should get Leon Jennings to hold court. Where the hell is Leon? You know what I mean?
Look, that would be the nice thing, that it's a shame he's fighting on Battlegrounds, not on the 10th year anniversary, because it would have been nice to have Foleyang on it, because I think One Championship 1 was headlined by Foleyang, which would have been really nice to have him on the card, but I don't think there's really many people left. Is Phil Baroni's not about anymore. Ishida is not about anymore. Gregor Gracie is not about anymore. Eric Kelly might be.
Yes. So bringing back some of the OGs from the first show would be good. Yeah, Falang. Yeah. But what about having Leon on our podcast? Leon Jennings.
That's what we need. Man. We always love to have Leon on. He may well be. Are we going to do a live show next Friday, Nick?
Well, I got to see what's going on at the Olympics, because starting tomorrow, I am on Olympics duty. I got to be covering the opening ceremony, doing a live blog. So if any of you care about the Olympics, come over to scmp.com, check out the live blog. I will be posting updates from the opening ceremony. Always fun, those big 6-hour shows. Yes, hopefully we'll be doing a show next Friday. If schedule works out, I will jump on that and watch it. I will be covering the media days, Monday and Tuesday morning, Hong Kong, Singapore time. They're about 9 a.m. I'll be putting some live streams of those media days. The second media day has Ong La and Victoria. So probably more people going to be watching that one. Our big Ong La army on SCMP MMA. Watch out for that. Have got Ong La. I was meant to interview Ong La this morning, but we've rescheduled for tomorrow morning, so that'll be up tomorrow. We'll do a stream in some fashion, I hope.
I'll agree with Adam H there. Bokan versus Pascio is the fight tonight. Wow.
Would you put that on 10-year anniversary too, or firefight? Or
I'd be definitely putting that on a 10-year anniversary, man. I think it's going
What's
to be
the worst name here?
Absolute spectacle. The one that also interests me, guys, is the December 31st, the New Year's Eve show, which is a little bit of an oddity because they've never really done that before. But I guess they're going to go head to head with Rising on New Year's Eve and see who can capture the most of the American market and the global market there, right?
Well, I feel like the Rising shows don't really get that much play outside of the hardcore fan base. You know what I mean? So I don't think one is really gonna be taking any of them away anyway. They've got their own fan base, so
yeah. But usually the UFC have nothing between Christmas and New Year, and I do find sometimes that the one time of the year where people do talk about Rising, where you do see it on every podcast, is that New Year's show. It is their biggest show of the year, right? It's akin to WrestleMania, right? You don't have to be a fan of the sport, but people kind of tune in for that single event, right?
Yeah, I think that's the biggest one, obviously, they have, and it gets people who don't normally watch Rising will probably watch that show if they can. So, yes, perhaps not the best idea for one to host a show. Legacy. Where in the heck do they get these names? Asks Miggs. I agree. Winter Warriors. That
I
is
don't
a
like
terrible
Winter
name.
Warriors as a name. I'm not a big fan of Gold Rush. I think if you're doing an event called Gold Rush, it should be in the American West or somewhere like there, right?
Well, Gold Rush to me implies, they're going to have some titles on the line. So they're maybe shooting themselves in the foot a little bit. They're going to have 5 title fights or something like that, which maybe is not the best when you're struggling to put out all these events and you need headline fights, which, you need one title fight a card. Or knowing them, it might just be a name that has no point or meaning. So, Blockbuster. Do you remember Blockbuster, the video rental service?
Yeah, I do remember
that. Yeah, simpler times before Netflix. Next gen, as WMMAC now points out, should be all fighters 20 and under. Yeah, could have Victoria in her first main event or something if she gets a quick win next week, perhaps. That'd be fun.
I still think she's maybe a bit away from a main event. I think we'd probably see her co-main first.
Yeah, but come on, they already want to get behind her. You know they're gonna strap the rocket on her.
Is her next fight at? Do you know? Can you bring up the poster?
She's atomweight still.
Is it still atomweight? Yeah.
Yeah, I asked her. I just interviewed her before the show, and I said, "Yeah, do you think you'll end up in a higher weight class?" And she said, "Yeah, it's very possible, but I'm focused on this fight." Everyone gives you that. I'm not thinking anything more than this.
I'm just saying because her height is listed as 167, and her opponent's height is 151. So she's going to have a 16 centimeter height advantage, probably something similar in the reach department. So she is big. I know she is very slight and thin, athletic. But you would assume that over time she's probably going to bulk up and end up probably 1 or 2 divisions higher, I think.
Yeah, I asked her, what if could you see yourself ending up in something like a flyweight division if one creates one, or bantamweight? But I don't think one has. Like I said to John,
I think they're probably a bit too big for her, but I definitely see her going up to strawweight in 3 or 4 years, and I definitely see her at flyweight.
But they'd have to make a division if it's flyweight. They barely have a strawweight division, so.
Because people forget how young the Lees are. Angela Lee's 25, and honestly, I probably don't see it in the next 2 to 3 years. I don't see her still competing at atomweight. I think she'll be up at strawweight. Christian himself has pretty much admitted he's not going back down to featherweight, right? He said lightweight, and he has said that probably, I think, how old is he now? 22 still, Christian, or has he turned 23?
Let me double check. Christian actually has his eyes on welterweight.
I think
he's never going to go up that down.
Yeah, he's going to go to welterweight. He's 23.
Yeah, 23. Victoria's he's just turned a month ago 23. Victoria's now 17 as well. I think Angela is 25. Still very young, all of them. So a lot they can achieve still. Victoria though, very impressive on the debut. She's looking for a first round knockout. She told me. I think she's going to be by the end of next year. I'll predict she is going to be in. It all depends on Angela, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they'll push her straight up to strawweight.
Yeah, Angela is going to be at strawweight. I think. I always feel.
I don't know.
I always feel like this whole Grand Prix is kind of like her clearing out the division, and her moving up a weight class.
We'll see. But they're not both going to fight in the same division. So one of them is moving up at least.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, so these are the shows. Next Gen, 29th October. Firefight. Legacy. All terrible names. I wish they would just call them like by numbers or something. It's just weird. But then it sounds weird because they have a number in their name first. That always bugged me about the TNT shows. It'd be like 1 on TNT 1, 1 on TNT 2. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't know, man.
Do people not care about these? Is it just me who's bothered about that?
I don't like I'm not a big fan of the name, so I'm not a huge fan. I much prefer numbers because I think it's much easier to go back because
it's difficult to remember these weird shows with random names. I can never remember the actual name. I remember the location and the date of some of these shows I've been to. I know the city I was in, when it was. I don't remember the random words they put together.
No, I only remember the names of the. Generally, if you have lots of championship fights, I remember them. But some of the other ones, like I remember, I could tell you most of the fights on Inside the Matrix 1, but I couldn't remember number 3 or number 4.
And I remember the Tokyo ones
because they're bit easier.
Other than that, I don't remember anything. Anyone I've been to, I couldn't tell you the name of the show. So
yeah, definitely.
Anyway, okay. Want to do a little bit of Gaethje Chandler? Yeah,
for sure, man. I'm pretty hyped, man. I think it's going to be a fantastic fight.
Is it going to happen? That's what I'm asking you, Chris.
Gaethje versus Chandler?
Michael Chanler, yeah.
I think it's going to happen. They both seem to be calling each other out. When you've got two guys calling each other out who are, I want to both say they're both ranked in the top 5. They might be top 6, both of them, but they're right there and thereabouts. Gaethje's number 2, Chandler's number 4. Fantastic fight. And, Michael Chanler, I know he just lost to Oliveira, but, if he wins this against Gaethje, he goes straight back into the title mix, particularly if Poirier can win the title. I think he'll be right in there.
Well, this is what. So there's some beef right now. I think Michael Chanler accused Justin Gaethje of ducking him. Of ducking him. And Gaethje is insinuating that he was 3 weeks into a training camp to fight Michael Chanler when Dana White suddenly put Chandler against Oliveira for that vacant title. So this is obviously the aftermath of Dustin Poirier taking the McGregor trilogy instead of going for the vacant belt, which would have been against Oliveira. So Chandler got taken out of the fight against Gaethje and put into that. That's what Justin is saying. And he says Michael Chanler is talking out of his ass. I was waiting for the bout agreement 3 weeks into camp and wake up to news his daddy Dana gave him the shot. He's been out of commission since the KO. What am I missing? I'm on vacay, and this fucker is slandering my name 3 to 4 times. Yeah, so Chandler's saying he's turned him down 3 or 4 times. There we go. So what do we make of this? Is this just hype? I think this is the fight to make, really. It makes a lot of sense in that division. Everyone else is tied up, aren't they? We have logical storylines for most of the rest of the division. You got Oliveira and Poirier probably going to fight unless something stupid happens.
100%.
Gaethje, Chandler. Let's bring up the rankings. Always fun.
We've got Islam Makhachev now ranked in the top 5.
Yeah, big jump for him, huh?
I think he's going to fight RDA, but they could be looking at Beneil Dariush now. Because
yeah, that's two Ali guys, right?
Yeah, that's true. But it has happened before. He did do Gaethje Khabib, right?
Yeah. Dan Hooker. It's weird. Dan's now out of the mix. It looks like through no fault of his own, really. I would have thought they would have put Makhachev and Dan Hooker together.
That's a fantastic fight.
Yeah. What does Dan Hooker do now, though? Because maybe him against RDA. He called out RDA recently or a few months ago.
I think Dan Hooker, Tony Ferguson would be a super fun fight.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Plenty to go on there. Chandler Gaethje, though, I think the winner of that probably gets the next title shot after
100%.
Justin and
100%.
Oliveira.
And it also depends about Conor McGregor because he's in the mix, right? You can always run it back with Dustin Poirier, according to Dana White.
Oh, goodness. Trying to avoid talking about Conor today.
Welcome to the UFC lightweight division. They're one of the best divisions in the whole sport globally, but also one of the messed up divisions in the whole sport globally.
Absolutely. Okay. What about this card this weekend? What are you excited for? TJ Dillashaw, Corey Sandhagen, Chris. Little bit of jaw-jacking between these two going on, and the media day yesterday looked like. The main story is TJ and his big comeback from a 2-year doping ban for EPO. We talked a little bit about that last time. So, what do you think? How do you think this fight's going to unfold, though, Chris?
I think it's super tough for TJ Dillashaw, man. I think this is a tough matchup. It's him against the new blood. I mean, they have beef going back to Team Alpha Male days, I believe. A lot of people say that Sandhagen got the better of TJ Dillashaw in those days and made him pretty angry. TJ is known for having a little bit of a temper at training, but you know what? I think just going in this high after 2 years out with a doping suspension, I think this is a really tough ask, man. TJ Dillashaw is 35, and that, if you look at the rest of the division, that is super, super old. I can't think of anyone who is of that age. I mean, you look at Johan Sterling, and I mean, you got Jose Aldo is of a similar age, but there's not that many people around that age at the very, very top. And I think it's just going to be a really, really tough run out, man. And you know, ring rust is real for most people. I just think Corey Sandhagen is going to have too many skills and too much variety for TJ Dillashaw to handle. And he's also very calm and collective. And you see, TJ isn't really that kind of fighter. He likes it when there's a breakdown in the fight. You know, he likes it when it becomes a bit of a fist fight. You look back to the 2 fights with Cody Garbrandt, they went a little bit that way where Cody was kind of winning, and then TJ got caught, and TJ actually kind of thrives in those situations. You know, he's a little bit like an Eddie Alvarez in that kind of way. So I think it'll be an interesting matchup, but I just have to fancy Corey Sandhagen for this one.
Now, I was trying to share the Fanatics browser on here. Sorry, I couldn't get it to work. That's why I'm using Topology. But please go download Fanatics if you haven't already. SCMP. No, that's not right. getfanatics.app/SCMP. I'll put the link in the yellow ticker now for anyone who hasn't got it. Join our SCMP MMA group. Make your picks for every show. Compete against us. It's all there. All the information is there in the yellow ticker and in the description. Please download it. Help us out. Help them out. It's all good.
And while you're here, guys, give us a like and a subscribe, man. Help us out
Yes,
with the
smash
algorithm.
that like button, please. I know I say this every time, but once I have sorted out my move and the Olympics out the way, some new things will be coming to the channel. Gonna have hopefully the merch, the long-awaited merch, the swag is gonna be set up, and maybe some kind of membership scheme. I don't know. We're gonna look into that where I can give you some perks, as they're called, and yeah, some big things in the works. I'm like a broken record. I keep saying that, but
And some
definitely,
early
definitely.
access to maybe some interviews and some behind the scenes footage and whatnot.
Yeah, it's just been a crazy time lately, especially the last few months. So my life is finally a little bit less hectic now. I've moved. So, well, we do have the Olympics, yeah. So get the Olympics out of the way, and we're all gravy. Anything else, Chris, on this card people need to look out for? I mean, I like the look of Kyler Phillips. Last time out against Song, he's always fun. But
Kyler Phillips
yeah,
is a wicked fighter. I mean, in the co-main event, we've got Aspen Ladd, Macy Chiasson, which should be a very interesting fight, particularly both of them at bantamweight. You can probably argue bantamweight is not the deepest division in the UFC, and with this, both of them maybe go into a number one kind of contenders spot with it, or maybe they just miss out. But they're both very, very close. I mean, ranked number 10 for number 3, and that's it. It is probably the toughest division in the UFC because look, if you're a really good women's bantamweight, you've got to get through either GDR or Holly Holm to fight for the title, and then when you get through one of those absolute killers, you've got to then fight Amanda Nunes, who just the most dominant champion in the sport right now. And then the other fight I'd also like to point towards is Macy Barber and Miranda Maverick. I think that's also in itself a fantastic fight. Absolutely talented, and they both had a little bit of ups and downs in their career. I think they're both in the very early 20s, 24 and 26, something like 23 and 24, which does bode well for the future of the UFC. Just shows you what quality they are attracting. Both of them coming off pretty good wins. Miranda Maverick winning her last fight against Gillian Robertson. And I can't remember, Macy Barber lost to, was it Modafferi? She lost to Grasso. So she really needs to start building herself up again. She came into the UFC with all this hype, all this talk of being the youngest ever UFC champion. I think that's not going to happen because I think if I check, she's got 4 months or something left to do it to catch John Jones. So it's probably not going to happen now, but you never know. But it does just show you just the depth and how much better this division's getting, the sport is getting all the time.
check out JHK John Hyun Ko's interview with Miranda Maverick on SCMP MMA if you have not already.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm sure there'll be more.
Put it out there. Just show you. I think we just said they're 23 and 24. You look at Aspen Ladd, she's 26. You mentioned Kyler Phillips as well. I think they're both age 24. Kyler Phillips and Piver, Rolian Piver, 25 and 26 they are. Just shows you how much talent there is over here at the moment in the UFC and just the strength on the card. And one more I'd like to point out as well is probably the Mickey Gall fight. I think that's pretty interesting because I really think now with the whole Mickey Gall thing and him kind of being built up, he got probably the best build-up of any UFC fighter. Not ever, but probably the best build-up of a fighter. Probably the last 10 years, probably the best since Brock. He got the Mike Jackson fight was on an early prelims, but it was very heavily watched. And then, he had, his second fight in the organization was on the main card of a pay-per-view fight in CM Punk. So we got loads of exposure from that, and he hasn't really managed to do anything with it.
He lost to Mike Perry, right?
Yeah, he did. He got
His
knocked
last
out by
fight.
Mike Perry.
No, it was a decision.
Got knocked out by Diego Sanchez. I can't remember before that. And I've just checked. It was
George Sullivan.
Randy Brown. They were his 3 losses. But yeah, coming in, beating Mike Jackson, then CM Punk on main event of the card, and then getting Sage Northcutt after that in a co-main was pretty big, and he's kind of faltered since then. So it's
Right. Punahele Soriano. He's also on the card against Brendan Allen. Puna was very interesting last time out. 8-0, real prospect there. Isn't it, Chris? You excited for this one? A huge knockout last time, I remember, against Dushko Todorovic. Ian Heinisch, always fun. Adrian Yanez. So this guy is really one to watch, isn't he?
Absolutely awesome, the Ian Heinisch fight. I think if he wins this fight, he should be looking to get a number next to his name. He should probably just crack those rankings then. And it is nice to have those 2 middleweight fights quite close to each other, because we could see those guys matched up, the winners matched up together in the future.
Absolutely. Well, when does this card start? I'll have a little look. Oh, it's an early one. Jesus. 4 a.m. for the prelims for us, Chris, in Hong Kong.
That's a little bit too much, but I'm on a junk boat, so I won't be watching most of the fights anyway.
You're on a junk boat?
Yeah.
Where's my invite?
You were invited, but it took you too long to respond. It's Robin Bruce's
girlfriend. Oh, that one.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, I can't go. I'm working. Some of us have work, Chris, on Sundays.
Well,
I was invited. Sorry, I don't mean to slander Nana, poor Nana, and her. She did invite me, yes, but I have the Olympics and the UFC, and hopefully I will get on a junk boat. I haven't been on one this year, I think.
Yeah, 100%.
That's a crime. You should be on one junk boat every year. I mean, Chris goes on one every month, though. He lives the high life.
I think ideally get at least 2 a year. You want one in the summer, but a nice autumn junk is always nice. It's not a little bit too hot. And one more fight we'll just point out is the opening of fight of it all. Probably the fight I'm most likely to see. Probably not, actually. But
4 a.m.
The return of Hannah Goldie from the Contender Series, 24K, after losing her debut fight in the organization against Miranda Granger. Must have been 2 years ago now. So nice to see her back in the octagon. Nice to see her fighting. Fairly popular fighter, big Instagram star. Maybe she can kind of fill that Paige Van Zandt-sized hole we have in the organization.
Well, you'll still be awake on Saturday night, partying, I'm sure. You might just be getting in at 4 a.m. So you could switch on the show, watch Hannah Goldie, yeah?
Yeah.
I will be fast asleep, and then the main card starts 7 a.m. So that's also going to be tough for me. I generally don't wake up till about 9 a.m. Maybe a little bit earlier on a pay-per-view day, but yeah, we'll see. I might catch up with this card. Yeah. It's going to be a fun card. Looking forward to it.
Man. It's a fun card. It's going to be really good. And guys, man, you know what? It always goes like this with UFC. When you have these fight nights and you're unsure about it, and you're like, oh, it's a good main event and it's a few interesting matchups, they always tend to surprise you, and they're always really, really good. And I was even looking at the odds, right? And I think no one fighting is more than 2-1 fighting. So it's all absolutely so tight. I mean, I want to say the biggest outsider on the whole card is the only one that's more than 2-1 is Pavia to beat Kyler Phillips. He's at 21-10. So apart from that, it does show you that all these are so tight. It's really hard to pick a winner.
When we got the Bellator, that's next week, isn't it? Yeah, Pitbull and AJ McKee.
Fantastic fight.
That'll be a good scrap. Yeah, my mind was thinking it's this week, but it's not. Just the UFC, and there's an LFA card as well. And then next week should be fun. Yeah, Bellator.
One championship.
UFC, one championship's back.
One championship Friday night for Asian time. Then wake up Saturday morning, enjoy the Bellator, get out the house and enjoy some sunshine, hopefully, and then Sunday morning straight in for the UFC, right?
Yeah, and these pesky Olympics are going to be in the way for me, sadly.
And while we're here, we'll just quickly mention it. Congratulations to Muay Thai getting recognised by the IOC. Big difference maybe coming soon. And
now, James Goyder, Mr. Muay Thai himself, James Goyder of Asian MMA, said it shouldn't be an Olympic sport. Controversial.
Okay. I know, but Thailand has been pushing it, and the Ministry of Tourism in Thailand has been pushing it for a long, long time.
Oh, James and his crisp crumbs.
Yeah, and we'll just touch on it very quickly. This weekend is this the biggest bare knuckle fight since Artem Lobov versus Paulie Malignaggi?
Oh, bare knuckle, yeah.
Is this the biggest one that you've since Artem Lobov versus Malignaggi?
I guess.
You don't seem very infused by the prospect of BKFC.
I'm not really into it, man. I'm not. There's too much to watch. You know, I struggle to watch Rising and Bellator. You know, I UFC and one my bread and butter, and then I watch as much Bellator as I can if there's a good card, and Rising I try and watch, and then PFL this year it's been good. I've enjoyed those shows. I'm excited for the playoffs. You throw in more, and it's just I have to. No, I can't watch everything as well. Because I'm also covering this professionally, so I had to write about it, edit it, do these podcasts.
Very interesting about this bare knuckle. Obviously, we're talking about the main event that's really got everyone's attention.
Ostovich and Page, right?
Example. What I found quite interesting is bare knuckle have kind of leaned into this YouTube versus TikTokers thing, and they have two YouTubers fighting two TikTokers in bare knuckle, which is quite interesting because we haven't seen some of the injuries that you do get in bare knuckle, and let's hope these aren't fashion or makeup YouTubers, right?
When is this show then?
Tomorrow night in America, so I guess it's Saturday morning for us.
I'll tune in.
Yeah, because they also have I know Britain Hart is very angry because she is I think she's not even the co-main event. She's like the beginning of the main event, and she beat Paige Van Zandt last time, and she's like, it's not really right that I should be down here. And you might know her because it wasn't a Rick. Was it Macho Man, or was it Macho Man? She did an impression of when she beat Paige Van Zandt. The I've got a feeling.
Might have been. I'm trying to remember, but you will know better than me. You're the encyclopedia, Chris.
I cannot remember. But
we don't have Alan Bones Jones in the chat. He would know.
He's a really good talker. Yeah, I think she's awesome.
Well, plenty coming up then, isn't there? So
100%.
Yeah. I think, well, why don't we leave it there? Because we've done well to get an hour and 8 minutes out of today, because there wasn't actually much to talk about. So,
and we will be back next week. We might try doing the show if the evening Asia time, if that works out for you guys. Better let us know in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll come back next week, and we're definitely next week gonna do the pick show of all pick shows, because we're gonna do our one championship picks, our Bellator picks, and our UFC picks all in one show.
Yeah, and as I mentioned earlier, I'll be running a live stream for One Championships Media Days on Monday, Tuesday morning Asia time. So check those out. All the scrums, the virtual scrums with the fighters on the one card. And I will try and do a podcast with Mr. John Hyun Ko on the Tuesday as well, time permitting. It might have to be a Wednesday, actually. Thursday, yes, Chris and I will be back doing some picks. And then Friday, you got John's show in the morning. And then there should be a fight companion for One Championship Battleground Friday night, Asia time.
100%.
Saturday looks like maybe a good time to not have a show. But Sunday, I'll probably be back with a UFC recap, time permitting. Yeah, we'll keep your eyes on the channel. This week's going to be big. We got, like I said, Victoria Lee. Just interviewed her today. I'll be putting that up today, hopefully. I got Ong La and Sang tomorrow morning. Be putting that up tomorrow. And a special interview I'm looking forward to bringing you guys as well. I can't say who it is at the moment, but I think you'll enjoy it. Yeah, plenty coming. So stay tuned, like and subscribe and all of that jazz. Thank you again for liking and commenting and watching. And Chris, thank you for joining us.
All good. Peace.